towards that pick. See where the priorities lie for RNG. Corki being hovered right now, but certainly a lot of powerful junglers, a lot of other powerful solo laners, even AD carries, I feel like, have started to slip lower down the priority list as the Corki is knocked in.
Yeah, I feel like you can trade off Aphelios and Jinx, and I feel like Rare Adam will probably pick up the Jinx here, I would think. You don't really want to give him a Jinx Corki just because of the big range advantage, but RNG have shown that they lean quite heavily towards the Corki as a pick for Xiaohu. I actually think it's okay for Rare Adam because it's not the best at contesting mid priority. Yes, it becomes more difficult later, but I feel like you want to get an early lead. You want to allow Leyan to pull ahead, and then he can lean that pressure down bot lane, get the Jinx fed, and you're in a pretty good spot now. I feel like in this situation, jungle is normally something that we see picked up here. And they are looking potentially towards that Zhao and will just lock it in. So a lot of early pressure, but also scales well, able to block those long range attacks and late game team fights.
Yeah, this is the most played pick for Leyan as well. So very much setting up comfort in that jungle. It's also, he's played 5 games. He's won 4 of them. This is actually a very successful pick for R8, which, I'll be totally honest, there haven't been that many successful picks for R8. So definitely positive that they're getting that Zhao locked in. The Aphelios traded for the Jinx. We talked about this already. And then Nautilus there as well. So very, very stock and standard from RNG in the first rotation. And Rare Atom likely to lock in maybe something like the Thresh to finish off their first phase, or perhaps setting up Cube.
And I actually like this because they were kind of in a situation where they either pick a mid laner to answer the Corki or a support to answer the Nautilus. By picking Gwen, they can ban away counters, and also RNG can't ban both mids and supports. They have to choose essentially. They may even split their bans. But already, we talked about the Jace earlier being that big counter to the Gwen. I would not be surprised to see Jax as that final ban from Rare Adam. For RNG, Orianna maybe something that you want to take out the hands of Strive, something we've seen picked frequently into the Corki, but could also look for Leona or Thresh in the support role as something that would deal well with the Nautilus and pair with the Jinx effectively.
So that Orianna gone as well. Things like the Rise, things like the Viktor perhaps could be reasonable bans in that mid lane unless they want to go towards the support. Rare Atom though, second counter pick for this Gwen. You mentioned the Jax already, could very much be the option that they end up going forward. Let's see. It's the Carly. Not a ban I was necessarily expecting.
It's still something good into the Gwen, something you see often picked up. We even saw the other day there was the matchup on, I can't remember specifically which series, but the Carly actually fell behind early. Still able to solo kill the Gwen though. The matchup does go heavily favored post 6, so you can just dismantle it essentially. So makes sense, but it does mean that Jax is open available for RNG. Do they ban Leona? Do they ban Thresh? Do they look towards some of those mid lane mages? They are going to go for Syndra, so one of those higher pressure mid laners, but it does mean Rare Adam essentially get choice off support here, but they could just grab a mid here and now, knowing they're going up against the Corki. We'll see what they opt for.
That would be bold. That would be incredibly bold, going up against a lane bully like Corki and locking in the Cassadin. We'll have to see. Rare Atom can just go for their support and go for a counter pick as their final one in that mid lane. And Yanja going with the Rakan. This is not something he's played this split. This is not something that honestly I would know Yanja for. Generally known for his peel supports like the Thresh. Also the Yuumi, who was a big fan of the Braum, but Rakan, different style there. The Jax that we talked about being locked in, and a Viego for Way.
Yeah, Viego Way prioritizing this fairly heavily in this series against LNG. Banned away quite frequently against him. And now for Rare Adam, it's kind of just leaving that mid lane pick. I want something that can apply the pressure. I've talked about it, how, you know, Corki isn't as active in the early levels, how Leyan wants to challenge in the jungle, especially as you are against the Viego. And they are actually going to opt for the Viktor. So not going for the LeBlanc or the Vex, going for something that does scale fairly well, but still, you will have prior on that mid lane matchup. And I want to see Leyan able to use that, because I think into the Viego, you can have a fine time pre-6, but once he gets that ultimate available, the skirmishing becomes very effective.
Yeah, I mean, Viktor, once you got that level 6, you got a couple of items, you just one-shot people. It's terrifying. Certainly the cleave damage that you get across the course of the team fight as well. I wouldn't say it's quite at the level of what Corki's bringing to the table, but certainly can make things happen. Certainly can find priority in a lot of matchups as well, so we'll have to see. But I'm looking towards that top lane, to be quite honest. We've got Bin on his signature Jax. It's a great matchup into the Gwen as well. And I have to say, I'm a little nervous for Cube. Cube has been set up by his team with this Gwen. This is a priority pick. Now, Jack's ban, a little bit nervous that Cube's not going to be able to have the freedom to use this.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if Cube is strong, it can make such a big difference. I love they have the Gwens and Zhao combo. It is so frustrating to play against for any ranged carries, the Corki, the Aphelios. It's like, you just can't damage them for such a long time. And if they juggle it effectively, like, you know, Leyan steps forward with his ultimate, then backs off, and then Cube steps forward, it becomes very hard to do much in a late game team fight. For both teams, very strong scaling elements. But I feel like for Leyan, you have this in Zhao, has that early agency, you're going to have priority mid. I want to see you apply the pressure and try and get things rolling quickly. If you can shut down the Jax early on in this game, it's going to make things a lot easier for your Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, if you can just take over, overload one of the sides, it's always going to be a good way forward. But we're jumping onto the Rift here. We're getting our first game underway of the day. And Aux, I'm going to hit you with a little bit of LPL knowledge here. I'm going to introduce this matchup for everyone, because I don't think a lot of people will realize, but even though the scores at the top say RNG and RA, this is actually Vici Gaming versus Vici Gaming, because back in 2015, when Royal Club were relegated, they bought the LDL spot from Vici Gaming's academy roster, and then got promoted into the LPL and rebranded as RNG. Well, RA was Vici Gaming that was rebranded. So we have two rebranded Vici Gaming teams. Oh, well, it used to be at least. Now facing off against each other as RNG and RA, both masquerading as separate organizations. Ming takes a bit of a hit to start this one off. But ultimately, my point, Aux, this is a derby. There's a lot on the line here.
Who is the better Vici Gaming? That is the question we'll have answered today. And nothing too crazy happening level 1. Obviously, you saw a bit of harassing on Ming, but again, fairly bog standard for now. And I'm going to be watching these junglers. I think in particular Leyan, talked about it before. Zhao, strong ganker, strong skirmisher. It's really waiting for the Viego 6 before he can hold up too heavily when he gets access to the ult, which he can reset whenever he gets a kill. But for now, they are both starting on this bot side. It does mean potential for them to set something up on this top lane that we did highlight.
It's a good stun from Bin, and you know, this is one of the things that always surprises me when I watch Bin playing Jax, right? You always think of Jax as this super late, hyper scaling carry from the top lane. Attempting the bottom side, Yuyanji just gonna get locked up. Oh my days, he's getting battered in the bottom lane. That was not pretty from Yuyanji. Unfortunate trade on the bottom side. But yeah, up in the top lane, it always surprises me how much damage he can get out early as that Jax.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that specifically into the Gwen, right? One of her big strengths is level 1 with the E. She just dashes forward and just out-trades you with those autos. Can't really do that against the Jax, right? Any auto attack-based champion will go low.
Oh my days. Yuyanji is just getting bodied. He's just getting straight up bodied. Ming knows he's inside his head. He's got an earworm. It's called Ming.
This is why I was a little bit unsure on the Rakan pick right into the Nautilus, because Nautilus can layer CC pretty effectively on you if he catches you. That's why people often pick the Leona, because Leona, if you get into melee range of her, she just pretty much beats most melee supports. Only really Braum has a decent matchup because he can just lock you down as a cooldown, and he's caught out again.
Ming! Ming is on fire today. Yuyanji having to get over the wall, but now a late reset as well. 3 things have happened in the bottom lane, and all 3 of them were Ming completely styling on Yuyanji.
Look what's happening mid, right? Strive. Not even just like having priority, running behind the tower to force Xiaohu to go for a very defensive recall, getting some vision down. Will reset himself and TP back in, but it means Leyan easily able to pick up that top side scuttle. And this is kind of what we expected from this matchup, right? Corki into Viktor. The Viktor will have the priority, but I have to say, we've seen this matchup a lot this season, right? Everyone's joked about it being a bit of a snooze fest, but it has varied so much, right? I've seen Rookie take the Corki into certain players and just feel like he's chilling, not being pressured at all. Here, Strive, credit to him, is putting pressure down on Xiaohu in the matchup.
Certainly is. Has a small CS lead as well off the back of this early game. But Wei is up in the top lane. Leyan hiding in the tri-brush as the engage comes out from Bin. Wei waiting for the opportunity. Goes for the stun, but it's flashed by Leyan and forces a flash out of Bin as well. Nicely done by RA.
Yeah, thought that one could be a bit precarious because you saw Wei waiting in the bush, but Bin not having the counter strike the big wave that was already built up, just a lot of factors in play meant that RNG wouldn't be able to win that 2v2. It is just a trade of summoners, but it does mean that Bin could be in a precarious spot, because remember, this is an Ignite Gwen, right? So in terms of combat power, she's already got that bit of an edge. She's able to use that without the flash. Could find yourself caught out when you hit level 6.
And look at this mid lane. Look at the CS difference. It's already over 2 waves in favor of Strive. And remember, at the start of today, we were like, okay, it's all going to be about Leyan and Strive. Can they make an impact against Wei and Xiaohu? Well, so far, so good. Yanja finds a knock up in the jungle. Wei going to be surely knocked up. Flashes on the wall, though. Gets out to safety. And a valiant effort from him. He does get that Scuttle Crab, but that's going to be his flash on cooldown. Bin's flash is on cooldown as well. Feels like the pressure is starting to stack up for RNG.
Yeah, and Wei has to be happy that Leyan had burned his flash in the top lane. If he had it available then, 3-point strike was about to get the knock-up, so certainly would have gone down if he'd be able to follow him over the wall. Does survive though, but it does mean RA have the pressure to go for this dragon. They had priority bot lane. Don't think any real contest is going to come through, and this is positive, right? It's not overwhelming right now for RA. RNG are still ahead, but they've been a couple of summoners. They've got that first dragon. It is what you want to be seeing, and again, that mid lane CS lead, pretty substantial.
Yeah, the mid lane, pretty substantial. It's huge, mate. He's almost 20 CS up. We're only 5-6 minutes into the game. That's actually nuts. Honestly, I've rarely seen Xiaohu lose the lane, never mind get gapped in the way that he currently is. Whether or not that continues, we'll have to wait and see. But Xiaohu obviously on the Corki. He'll come into his own later on in the game. And Bin gets his recall cancelled, and that's going to be the ulti used by Cube. Is he going to go underneath the tower? Ignite dropped. It's the dubstep Ignite, and you can hear the bass drop. Bin falls.
And that's the difference, not having the flash, not able to get away. All 3 needleworks do end up connecting, and then the Ignite just enough damage. We'll be able to TP back in and pick up this wave, but this is not what you want to happen. You pick the Jax to deal with the Gwen. If you're getting solo killed, it is already a bit of a disaster, but exactly what RA want to see. Credit to Cube, and now iBoy in trouble.
Another hook coming out from Bin, and there's no way to escape from iBoy. That's his flash on cooldown as well is going down. Didn't go for the heal in the end, but at least there's some kind of answer from RNG for what happened in this top lane.
Yeah, Bin just kind of for sleeping, recalling the brush. Cube checks it, and then they ignite enough. Potion was running, but obviously cuts the healing quite severely, and then the last tick just enough to take him down. So, you know, Jax still is going to scale up to be effective into the Gwen, but going down like this just snowballs the Gwen, will give him more space in the matchup, and also just means she's going to come online a lot sooner and be such an issue in those team fights.
You know, before the game, when I said Gala and Ming versus iBoy and Yanja, that's going to be a tough bot lane, I wasn't really factoring in the fact that both solo lanes from RNG were going to get bodied by their opponents. Strive and Cube this game have leveled up. They know that they needed to step up if they wanted to win today, and they absolutely have so far. Cube with the solo kill, Strive with a 20 CS lead. It feels like a lot of pressure is being put onto Gala's shoulders right now in this early game.
And you have to give a lot of credit to Strive, right? Came up as a rookie, having played in the LPL and actually managing to win the whole split on a RA second squad, and now going head to head. But Cube could be in trouble here.
Oh, Wei is here to punish Cube for his recent transgressions. No, he isn't. He goes down. I can't believe it. Cube just cuts him in two. And that's what happens when you dive without a minion wave.
Gwen immune to ganks at this point, and yeah, thought he could just finish off with the ultimate, but critically, Cube had the dash, avoided the execute damage from the ultimate, and able to turn things around. It's now a 2-0 Gwen, and this is already looking pretty disastrous for RNG. Leyan's going to look towards the Herald. Bin is in the vicinity, but you know, you're half HP. I'm not sure you can do too much there. Well, it will actually be enough for Leyan just to walk off.
Leyan going to respect the potential of congestion there. The AD carries return to that bottom lane, and this is not the way I expected today to start off, Mr. Aux. This is not how I expected this series to be going. Wait, starts this Herald off. We said RNG can be a bit inconsistent, to say the very least. Certainly showing that off at the start of this series. RA coming out of the woodwork, finding some advantages, but not going to contest this Herald, surprisingly. Deciding this isn't one they want to go for in the end, and RNG will grab that.
Yeah, I think the fact that Ming had first moves advantage from bot was already there, whereas Yanjo was just moving over a bit slower, and also Xiaohu having the package made a big difference there. But we can see in this situation, so Cube actually altering a fair bit here means he gets a reset on his Z cooldown. Wei just wants to ult him and kill him, right? But the dash means he avoids it, buys him enough time, the healing comes out from the ultimate, and he's just able to survive the turnaround. Now Wei doing 2 camps at once. He takes one, Leyan gets the other.
Leyan says thank you for the leash, and now Wei getting chased out of his own jungle, forced to just run away as Xiaohu moves over to try and help, but that means that he'll fall even further behind in that mid lane. So it feels like a catch-22 for Xiaohu. Do I help my jungler? Do I keep myself even in CS in the mid lane? Well, even is a long shout at this point for Xiaohu because he's 30 CS down, and Leyan says, well, it doesn't matter if you come to me, I'm gonna come to you. Gravity Well comes down. Xiaohu just consistently being bullied in mid lane by Strive. What an excellent job on this Viktor from Strive.
Yeah, really doing solid. And again, we said it before, the matchup is Viktor favored in the early game, but there's a limit to how much you can fault the matchup for, right? This is just Strive playing excellently now. Wei and Ming are plenty fishing here. You can see Yuan just moving over. And I think RNG just need to back up in this one. They do have a decent amount of vision control covering their entrance to the jungle, but ultimately not really feeling confident about their ability to fight here and now. And actually, if we look towards the top lane, that's a rift maker for the Gwen, already finished. Whereas Bin is just resetting now, and he's nowhere near his first time being completed. In fact, he doesn't even get a chance to reset.
He has a Vamp Scepter. that is a stark difference in the top lane. And maybe RNG can even it up with a 1v3 as both Wei and Ming are making their way into that top lane. RA is going to recognize the situation and grab themselves a Drake. As Cube started to just wail on Bin at this point, he's going to go for the needlework as well. And Bin is here with Ming to try and go for this dive. Are they actually going to be able to kill him? Let's find out. Wei now the target is Cube.
I don't think
Still
so.
Half HP. Bin goes in. They realize that this is completely doomed. And Cube is just giggling away to himself. Not even a bit of sweat on his brow.
I mean, he's so strong, has so much sustain. And I think you saw, you know, when they started to set up the dive and Bin went for a trade to lower his HP, and Cube just like half helped him with 1 Q. I was like, yeah, this dive is not happening. There is no way. Now it's 1,000 gold lead in the matchup, but you know, we talked about this being a counter. We talked about how the Gwen can be matched by the Jax later on. I think it kind of just shows that Gwen is always such a volatile champion because sure, right? There are champions who can deal with it. We've talked about the Jace, we've talked about the Jax, we've talked about things that can just hold her down. If she ever gets a lead though, she was just absolutely monstrous and scales so well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's one of those champions that when you do get ahead, you never ever fall behind again because you press R 1 time and you kill everyone and heal to full HP. Totally reasonable. With that said, though, I have to say I am impressed by both Cube and Strive in the way that they're handling this game as well, because there are plenty of players that would just be diving, and we may see that actually from Cube here as he dives out of tower range again. Bin 1 HP already. The Counter-Strike will do a lot to help him out here. Stun onto Cube, but it's not going to be enough. And Cube can return back to that top lane once more. His Wei is actually about to run out of time with that Herald in his inventory right now. Looks like he's going to go towards the bottom side just to get something.
Yeah, needs to slam it down quickly. I feel like it's only 3 against 2. RA may well try and defend the tower and stop it from going down completely. But again, you have to be a little bit cautious. Nautilus with the ult available does make this somewhat scary, but it looks like they'll get 2 plates, nothing more. So still, you know, they get value for the Herald, but they're not able to translate into that first tower. And with Cube on the top side picking up more and more plates, right? It just feels favored towards RA. The fact that you got that kill and you got the plates and didn't even have to burn a Herald to match what RNG did, definitely favored towards them.
Yeah, this is a toughie for RNG, but we've seen them come back from these situations before. This is one of the teams that when the chips are down, they will play very intelligently. They're happy to opt out of fights that they're not going to win. They're happy to find correct situations for themselves and for their comp. So if there's a team that you can have faith in the potential comeback, this is probably one of those teams. With that said, definitely a difficult situation going up against a 3-0 Gwen. The Blade of the Rune King at least finished now for Bin, so we'll have some sustain up in that top side. But once again, Eyes are going to be on Gala, but the thing is, it might be difficult for Gala to operate later on into the game against a Viktor and a Jinx. I feel like there's a lot of range that this Aphelios is going to have to play into.
I feel like it's not even decided. It's the Gwen and Zhao combo, right? Oh, I have to say that. Get another all in.
Ming started that fight.
Yeah. I think he's like, I can play the Ring King now. I can trade. And then as soon as he starts to trade, he's like, never mind. Not a good plan. But yeah, I think one of the things is as much as there's a lot of good scaling elements on this side. I mean,
he wants it. He's a level down right now. Bin, mate, what are you doing? I'm speechless.
But it feels like Bin, I said so many nice things about him after that series against LNG. He's just trying to prove me wrong because this has been a rough one from him. And I have no idea what was going through your head there, right? You've already burnt your flash. You know that Cube has Ignite up. And it doesn't take a genius to press tab and see how far ahead this Gwen is. But I digress. Clearly was fueling himself with Blazer and King. A pretty critical error. And again, this Gwen 4-0 now. You can see with the bounty as well. Strive also has a bounty just off the back of that CS. 174 CS, by the way, at 15.5 minutes. Pretty stellar. And, you know, as much as there's scaling elements in RNG, Jack scales exceptionally well in the side lane. Viego, pretty strong in team fights. Corki, a monster, Aphelios as well. I feel like the team fights will be difficult because, as you said, the Jinx is such a problem with the range, but also the Gwens in Zhao are just such a good front line, right? If you end up fighting front to back, you're not hitting their front, right? Because for, 10 seconds between them, they can just render themselves immune to damage. And I think that's going to make things very difficult for RNG unless they get creative, unless they find those good angles, or Xiaohu gets a massive package. So these things are getting worrying. There's a 2k gold lead, third dragon up and available, and it looks like package in hand for RNG. They know if they give over a Mountain Soul to RA, the game gets exceptionally hard.
Xiaohu with the package. We saw in the clips that we played before this game, Xiaohu has done insane things with that Corki passive before. I expect to see that again. He's one of the better Corkis in the entire league. Certainly one of the more intelligent Corkis, but Herald being dropped down in this mid lane to force priority in favor of RA. But Gala going to stay here, clear the way. We'll be able to deal with the Herald. Drake not actually going to be started by either team just yet, so the Herald not going to achieve all too much. And RNG actually managing to maintain control of the river, at least for the time being. RA stacking as a 4. This is looking like it might just be a 4v4 here, but the package backwards from Xiaohu. Must have been timing out. There's Moonlight Vigil, bit of damage onto RA. And some strong posturing from RNG might just be enough for them to get a Drake here. Remember, all of that gold that RNG are ahead, that's on Cube. He's on the other side of the map right now. And so RNG will take the Drake.
Yeah, and I'm kind of questioning the decision coming out from RA, right? Because Cube has TP advantage. If they really wanted that, they could have had him join in. I feel like one factor of it is they didn't have the greatest TP wards, but either way, they just needed to force through, get into the river where they have more space to dodge the Corki folk, and then they're in a much better position. Xiaohu had also pretty much ran out of rockets there, had no ammo left, and was just waiting for it to recharge. So I feel like there was definitely a window. Gala's ultimate, though, made a big difference. The extra AoE poke did make RA reconsider. But either way, RNG get themselves out of that precarious spot, secure the dragon, and it means that they at least have a little bit more time before Soul is on the cards for RA.
Feels like a bit of a lapse of judgment from RA here, to be quite honest. You have a 4-0 Gwen that's literally been destroying everyone all game. Maybe use that advantage. Maybe find fights with that. Now 2 items. The Cube in that top lane right now has the Nash's Tooth, so he will be even stronger than he was before. He is absolutely massive in this game. The only other player on the 2-item mark as well is Gala on that. Aphelios, who did go for, I believe he went for a full. So that one off. There's a bit of a knock-up. Leyan gonna just blast everyone away, try and escape for the time being. Graviton taken away. It will be procced, but no follow-up from RNG. And that's a TP used by Xiaohu as well.
Yeah, you see Yuanja pop the ultimate there. Not able to find his way in. Again, you get the TP of Xiaohu. You don't really burn too much other than the flash from the Zhao. So I think RA are fine with it, and they will be able to pick up power in the bot lane. But you can see RNG still fishing for these opportunities. TP will come out top from Strive as they don't want to make this a trade. They want to be able to defend this tower. Remember, because Xiaohu just bit his TP, still even in terms of those global summoners.
And I have to say, I am really pleasantly surprised by RA. It's Because this is a team that have not looked particularly convincing. They've looked shaky. They've had a lot of series where it's really left a lot to be desired. The consistency will be a question that we bring up again and again across this series, whether or not they can maintain this. But Cube especially, I remember this guy coming into the league back in 2020, and in Demacia Cup, this guy's gangplank was absolutely stellar. He was solo killing people. He was looking like a monster in that top lane. And then we basically just saw him play Ornn all year long. And forever since, I've always been sort of disappointed by what we could see from Cube versus what we actually see. But today, I feel like we're seeing that vintage Cube. We're seeing that same Cube that popped off in the Demacia Cup all those years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, he has been stellar so far this game. I do want to see what he can do in the team fight. So I think that's one thing that we need from RA is transitioning this lead into some more advantages, into some team fights, because I'm pretty confident they're in a good spot right now, right? The 4-0 Gwen, level 14, highest in the game by a pretty healthy margin, right? 2 levels higher than the RNG solo laners. I feel like if you just find an opportunity where there is a fight, if you get Cube into a good position, it should be easy sailing from there.
And again, the CS advantages in those solo lanes as well. There's still a 35 CS lead in favor of Strive in the mid lane, and now a 30 CS lead in favor of Cube as well. Way, mate, you've got to be cautious on that one. Gonna get knocked up again, and finished off surely. The burn is not actually going to work out. Way will survive, so a small reprieve for RNG. At least they survive, but feel like that much of a silver lining, to be honest.
Yeah, good move from Ming there to block the super mega death rocket. Otherwise, it definitely would have been way going down. Again, RA trying to find the opportunity, trying to find a pick, not really able to translate. And it does get trickier when you're looking at those tier 2 towers. A lot harder to break, especially with no heralds available. But we do have that dragon spawning in a minute. Now, remember, package is synced up with this. So RNG will have that available for Xiaohu. It will give them a fair bit of power in the fight. I really want to see RA contesting this one. I want to see what Cube can do, finding a good opportunity, a good angle. And already, if he pushes this wave in bot, very easy for him just to walk through the enemy jungle and be there, be ready on a flank to provide that threat. Already, Leyan and Yuyanja are looking for some vision control. Cube will just chunk bin out a little bit. They chunk out. Light little love tap.
A little love step. But Bin, he spun his helicopter around, and it made him immune to the immune champion, I guess, for a second. We are going to see Xiaohu rejoining the fray, though, and I believe he should have package at this point. But Bin's been found out in the jungle. Forwards. And remember, Gwen's W does actually have a cooldown, even though it seems like it doesn't in the late game. It does currently. And that means Xiaohu, if he can get a couple of big rockets in, can still turn this fight for Corki. 2 items strong there. The Aphelios as well. Drake's already gone. RA just going to grab this one with minimal contention from RNG, who really don't get anything off the back of this one. Perhaps they can go for a mid-tier 1 here, as Xiaohu is trying to keep the team of RA away from the mid lane. He's playing bodyguard, using that package to keep himself safe. Returns to his team. A rocket in Xiaohu, very low on HP. The tower will go down, but at what cost? Here comes Cube behind enemy lines. Ming anchors to the wall, trying to get out to safety. Gala having to use his Gale Force, flashes as well, and now Yuyanja will be routed by the Graviton. Wall goes Cube. Moonlight Vigil actually whiffed by Gala. It's a disaster. Chaos Storm comes in. Xiaohu 1 HP over the wall. Gala barely surviving as well. They're all barely getting away, but now cut down. Ming tries to save his AD carry and pays with his life as Strive gets himself a double kill on the Viktor. In the meantime, it's a tier 1 in the top lane for RNG, but it's pittance compared to what RA are getting.
I like the idea from RNG, right? Get the mid tower, zone them off, use the package to cut the enemy team away from you. For the TP flank from Cube, it took a long extended play to chase down those kills, but they do eventually find them. Honestly, I have to say, I think Ming should have just let Gala go, and there would have just been 2 towers for that 1 kill on the dragon, which I think RNG could have been somewhat happy with. They do end up losing the extra member there, and we will get the replay. So one of the things is we often see Gwen take Ghost, and it's kind of for reasons like this. It can be quite tricky to stay in range of your targets and chase them down. Does get this dash over the wall here, though, and will continue to try and spread damage around. Nearly kills Xiaohu here as well with this 3rd needlework. But it's this moment here where Ming sees Strive step up. Strive is way too healthy. Just back off. You know Gala's dead. You could have just let him go and then be happy with the top lane, mid lane power trade. But Good guy Ming, maybe just a bit too friendly, looking out for his AD carry.
Too much of a nice guy. You know what they say, nice guys finish last. But I have to say, oh, hang on, Ming. He's trying to get vision control, but that's not your area of the map. Ming goes down to a rocket from downtown. It's easy pickings here for RA. RNG just walking into him time and time again. And during that last replay, we saw everybody turned around to try and get onto Cube. I feel like the call there from RNG should just be leg it. Try and get out with as many people as you can.
Absolutely, and now they have to approach the Baron. Remember, no support means no wards. Makes it harder to approach. This is going so fast.
It's already going to go down here, way over the wall. Can he make the miracle happen? No is the answer. Bin trying to threaten the back line here as iBoy forced away. But it's a kill on the way. It's a Baron in the pockets of RA. They don't need anymore. They've already won the fight.
Yeah, great moves from them, right? They pick the support, they take out the pace from the wards, they already had decent vision in the river, and it meant RNG has to be a little bit precarious approaching. They don't know where Cube is. Could be, oh wait, getting more action here.
Leyan, though, is kind of running it. That's a bit of an opportunity for RNG. Way too greedy from Leyan. Trying to go for the blue buff by himself without any of these strong solo laners near him.
And it's actually really costly, right? Because you reset with the Baron, fast reset, you get back on the map, you have tempo advantage. This drastically slows it down. But that's the thing, right? They don't know where Gwen is right now. So Gwen could be hiding off to the side, threatening a flank. They find out she's on the Baron, which is why it's going down so fast. Wei does get in the pit for the steal, but isn't able to find it. And then it's basically just RA securing the objective there. And now Strive in trouble as well. No stopwatch.
Oh my goodness, RA, you can't do this. You can't look this good all game, and then after taking the Baron, after basically having this game on a platter, Leyan overextends in the jungle. Now Strive overextends in the top lane. Cube, though, still absolutely monstrous.
He's leveled up on Wei.
He's so insanely strong that he's just going to comfortably take a tier 2. Maybe it is unlosable. Maybe with this Gwen, it's actually unlosable for RA. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it is hard to see them losing fights with this Gwen, and Mountain Solos in 50 seconds. But I will say, them not being able to translate, the longer the game goes on, right, the more difficult things will get for RA in terms of maintaining that gold lead. They had a substantial gold lead earlier on. 4,000, well, it's 5,000 now. The longer the game goes, the less relevant that will be. We saw Cube having a completed item when Bin had that Vamp Scepter. Yes, he has 3.5 now. But Bin is closing the gap, and eventually the Jax will outscale. I mean, there's going to be a point where Cube will finish all of his items at hit level 18, and you don't get any stronger after that point. But now they're looking towards that dragon. Mountain Soul on the cards for RA, and this is going to be a difficult fight for RNG. But again, they do have that package.
They have been spotted, though. They were trying to get a creative flank. But keep your eyes on Xiaohu. Oh! Days the damage coming on through, but they've got a pick in the jungle. Bin has been found. And he will go down. It's a huge pickup for RA, and it's really unfortunate for RNG because this is the sole point as well. Now we need to see Wei finding a miracle steal. That's the only way that RNG, I think, stay in this game at this point. Got a good amount of poke with these Corki rockets that are just one-shotting iBoy. That's his heal used, but no steal comes out from RNG. Now a 4v5, and Cube's over the wall. He's in the back line already, but knocked up by Ming, who sacrifices himself. And now Xiaohu packages to deter any further play from RA, but that's a Mountain Soul.
And the Mountain Soul actually really valuable here. We always talk about different dragons, different values, different situations. You're against a Corki, right? The poke is really frustrating to deal with. You just saw what it did to iBoy. Everyone on your team now has this extra shield just to soak up some of that damage. And on top of that, the extra resistances from those two Mountain Dragons, huge for the Gwen. Now they're looking for a fight here.
Xiaohu's trying to make things happen. Has to flash away to keep himself safe as every time iBoy comes within a screen of Xiaohu, he just loses half his health. I can't believe how hard RA are winning, and yet iBoy literally still doesn't get to play the game. Imagine playing AD carry in 2022 Omega Lord.
Yeah, well, that's Corki, and I feel like Gala is experiencing similar pain when there's a Gwen on the team who is just so menacing right now. Wait.
Okay. I thought he was going to be able to ult over the wall. Apparently not. Cube says no. 7-0-2 on this Gwen. It's done and dusted, Aux. RNG go down in game number 1. Is RA trying to finish things off? They're not actually going to commit just yet, though. I thought they could just brute force end.
I think the danger is the Corki, right? Has the big one loaded in pocket. He can just clear the wave so quickly. And again, if you overstay, we did talk about the scaling elements of RNG. I think as much as RA are massively ahead, as much as I favor them in the team fights, if you disrespect RNG, that Corki will become problematic. Anytime you overstay and he gets more and more rockets fired out, he's going to chunk people out. He'll start getting some kills. That's where things can get precarious. And I think it's a right call, right? You already have the Mountain Soul in pocket. Baron's in a minute 20. You can just wait for that. Now, on top of that, there is now Baron Waves going to be pushing in that bot lane, which just puts an extra, not Baron Waves, Super Minion Waves pushing in that bot lane on the opposite side of the map to the Barons. So just an extra element of pressure that RNG have to deal with.
And I want to reiterate, for any viewers that aren't regular LPL viewers, this is not the way anybody was expecting this matchup to go today. RNG, they have looked somewhat inconsistent, but they're still a team that is 7-2. And by the end of a series, they always manage to perform. They always manage to get those wins. But RA have been extremely inconsistent. RA have been a team that have left a lot to be desired in their games. Recently going to 3 games against LGD and against TT, 2 of the lowest ranking teams in the entire league. And yet against RNG, they've shown up, but now maybe caught in the jungle. It's going to be Leyan on the front line, but he's invincible because he's in Zhao, and it's Ming that goes down in the end. You talked about this front line of the Gwen and the Xin Zhao. It pays dividends for RA.
It's insane how much damage you can effectively stoke just by popping the ultimate on Xin Zhao. And yeah, they go for the pick. I respect the play from RNG. You can either lose gracefully or you try and make a play and get back in the game. They try to play, fortunately unsuccessful. Wave blocks the ultimate from iBoy, and that rocket in return feels like it should be an ultimate with how much damage it's doing to this Jinx. I mean, technically it is, but
I was going to say, it is an ultimate.
It's on such a short cooldown, right? It's so insane, but you know.
It's like a mini ulti.
Mini ulti, yeah. Got 7 of them in pocket, but I'm going to get started by RA. RNG had to reset for health, and I think this is just not going to be contested.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way to contest that one. RA grabbed themselves a Baron. It's a 10,000 gold lead, as well as Bin is forced out in that top side. That's his flash gone. Gala trying to get some kind of push in the mid lane, but realistically, there's no way to contest once RA show up again. And, you know, it's kind of funny when you talk about the ultimates here. Xiaohu has 7 rockets at his disposal, and all of them do more than the 1 rocket that iBoy has available to it.
It's so stupid, man. It's just a fact as well as, like, when you pick up the package, it completely reloads your rockets. I feel like that's something that people often overlook, is like you can just burn your rockets poking out and like pushing a wave, and then you reset, grab the package, boom, instantly full ammo. And the cooldown is so short that even though you have 7, by the time you use them all, at least a couple will have respawned. But either way, I'm talking about this Corki. The real scary thing is RA right now, and Wei, that ain't your grump anymore.
Well, it is. He's taking it. The question is whether or not he survives taking the grump. He's going to go on to Yuyanji, who has a shield the size of his entire health bar. Ults out, has a bit of a CC immunity as Yuyanji tries to follow him, and Ming in the wings. Hey, a successful grump heist. We take those for RNG.
Absolutely. Managed to steal it away. Wasn't called for it, even though it should be his own property.
It's the little wins. You know, it's the little wins.
You take them, right? And in return, you lose your mid lane inhibitor tower. Probably your mid lane inhibitor, but, you know, you got something.
Let's be real, though. I think they would have lost those anyway. I'm not sure they ever could have defended this. So, hey, we're still positive on that grump.
A trade to trade.
Yeah, RNG taking what they can at this point in the game. As posturing for a fight begins, there's only 3 kills on the board for RNG. They're 10,000 knocked down. The supers in the bottom lane, Baron minions in the mid lane. Bit of damage though coming out from Gala. Nice cleave onto Yuyanji there. And RNG actually doing a decent job of just clearing these waves and holding on. It feels like RA is somewhat stalling out.
Yeah, it is still pretty hard to push between the Infernum for the Aphelios and the Corki. There's so much wave clear. But what becomes harder to defend is this top lane inhibitor tower, right? The Nexus towers, having 2 of them, being able to back up to your base and heal, very advantageous. But RA managed to pick up that top inhibitor. And you can see RNG, they actually really want to try and look for a fight. They even have the package in hand ready for the Drake. They want to try and...
Here we go. Engage comes out from RA, though. It's going to be them deciding the terms. Xiaohu with the package, but he just doesn't have the damage. It's a beautiful package, but it's just not enough. Gala now, Infernum, Moonlight Vigil. It's not enough either. They don't have the damage. Gala flashes forward, trying to finish these health bars off, but they just can't get a kill. RA with the Mountain Soul, completely impervious. And now we'll take game number 1, a surprise upset to start our day.
And it's so close at the end. You can see RNG, they know if it comes down the Elder, the triple super minion waves pushing in the base means they couldn't even contest. They know they have to try and get into the fight. RA opt into it and they end up clutching it. Low health bars, but no one goes down. And a convincing game 1 upset from RA. Question has to be, can they continue this? Can they keep this going in the series?
Honestly, I'm kind of amazed that that finished the way that it finished, but also that, like, I feel like RNG actually played that final fight better. They were just 10,000 gold and a mountain soul down. Like, you literally don't do damage to the opponent at that point in the game. So.
And if you actually think about how low the health bars were, if you subtract the mountain shield, probably a lot more deaths there, right? It actually made a pretty big difference there in keeping them alive, especially when you have the likes of a Viego on your team. Because if someone dies, you get the resets, you get the momentum. But either way, this really felt like a good fight from RNG, but they were paying for the crimes earlier in the game, paying for the massive disadvantage that they'd already accrued. And as a result, RA able to clean up.
And I just want to revisit something we talked about right at the very start of the day. We were saying, you know, Xiaohu and Wei, these are the guys that will be carrying for RNG. We were talking about how there might be a difference in the side lanes for the side of RA here. Well, Cube just completely shut that down. Strive completely shut that down. The solo laners from RA have given us an absolute masterclass here today. I cannot believe we just witnessed Bin and Xiaohu both getting completely gapped.
Yeah, and it makes you question RNG's draft priority, right? Because they took the Corki first pick, and although, yes, it obviously delivered later on, don't get me wrong, look how much damage it did. Strong pick, but it meant they just had this issue with pressure in the mid lane. And top lane, they were like, Gwen is fine, we can answer the Gwen. Ended up leaving it in a position where it can get sort of picked on that third pick red side. And then Bin's Jax, right, of all things, just completely flopping.
Bin not having a good game, especially when he was 3-0 down and went for the all-in onto the Gwen that was a level up on him.
Yeah,
that decision, suboptimal. We're going to go into game number 2 and see if RNG can sort of shake it off and come back looking like RNG. We'll have to find out after the break.